See, I'm already live. It's coming on. It's coming on. अभी दिखा रहा है आपको दिखाई देगा. Give me a second. You'll be able to see me. It's just
Okay.
happening.
Then disconnect. Then
No,
disconnect because
wait. Just see now. Can you see me?
yes. ये डिस्कनेक्ट फोन मैंने डिस्कनेक्ट कर दूँ बिकॉज ये सब सुनाई देगा वहाँ पर. फिर
Okay.
हाँ.
Hi Anjali, can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Suresh and Anjali. Anjali, you'd like to give an introduction first? Or would you like me to go ahead? Good evening to all of you. Welcome to this session on sexual harassment of women at the workplace. My name is Dr. Sandhya Advani, and I'm the founder and principal consultant of Posh Systems, and I'm a part of Ansh Foundation. Ansh Foundation, as you know, stands for a network of sensitive humans, and it's a non-profit organization which is committed to work towards increasing sensitivity, kindness, and respect in human beings. What is the objective of Ansh Foundation is to build a chain of sensitive humans. And how does it go about doing it? It aims at making people aware of the serious issues in society through various activities like art forms, workshops, talks, seminars, and working at the ground level. A brief introduction about me is I have over 30 years of experience in various domains in multiple corporates. And since last year, I have started my own organization, poshsystems.com, and I collaborate with Ansh Foundation for various events. So let's begin with the topic, sexual harassment of women at the workplace. Shall we? Now, what is it that you understand by sexual harassment? How does it happen? I mean, you've heard the word sexual harassment in multiple times. You've heard about the Me Too movement. You've heard about multiple things. So how does sexual harassment actually happen? What is sexual harassment? It is a behavior of a sexual nature. It makes the woman feel uncomfortable, and it happens at the workplace. So if you have these three things, a behavior of a sexual nature, two, it makes the woman feel uncomfortable, and three, it happens at the workplace. If you have these three things that qualify, that act would amount to an act of sexual harassment against that woman. Now, how would a woman be harassed sexually? So there are various ways. One is by touch, that is a physical touch, touching a woman inappropriately, any physical contact which could be without her consent. She just doesn't like anyone touching her. There are some people, who have a habit of touching people when they are, talking to them, or unnecessarily touching. So that is that. If it makes the woman feel uncomfortable, if it happens at the workplace, then that would amount to sexual harassment. Then there is another way, showing pornography. Many a times, a man may forward a non-veg picture, or an obscene picture to a woman, and she is his colleague. If it makes her feel uncomfortable and it is happening through a colleague, she can file a complaint of sexual harassment. So one was physical contact, second is showing pornography, third is making sexually colored remarks. You heard people, many a times, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know, disrespect to the guys, but they say things like, kya item hai, kya bomb lagti hai, kya sexy lagti hai. Now, these kind of comments, if they make the woman feel uncomfortable and it is happening with her at the workplace, then she can file a complaint of sexual harassment. So you have to be very careful. So these kind of comments, that is, referring to somebody as a hunk, what a babe she is, or telling sexual jokes or stories, remarks about a person's body, are moti aa gayi, kali aa gayi, those kind of remarks. I mean, if it makes a woman feel uncomfortable and it is happening at the workplace, she can file a complaint. Apart from that, you have another one, demand or request for sexual favors. Now, say for example, the man is telling the woman, Rashmi, let's go for coffee. And Rashmi says, no, I don't want to go for coffee. He thinks probably she's busy, and maybe because of that, she's not able to come. So he asks her again, Rashmi, let's go for coffee. She says, no. Again, he asks her, come on, let's go for a movie. And she says, no. Now you realize that she has very clearly said no. But he is still persisting, and he is her colleague, and it is happening, he's a colleague and he's interacting with her, and he's asking her, while he is in the office, he's asking her, come on, let's go for coffee, let's go for a movie. And she says no. And if he keeps doing this, she can file a complaint of sexual harassment. Apart from this, you have, abuse of authority. You may have a manager telling his junior, प्रिया तुम्हारा कंफर्मेशन करना है ना, चलो हम शाम को मिलते, घर पे मिलते हैं, we can discuss it out. So what is he actually doing? He is abusing his authority to seek sexual favors. So even that is making the woman feel uncomfortable, she can file a complaint of sexual harassment. Another example, falsely accusing somebody of any kind of a crime just so that he can get sexual favors. Now you may have an incident where a manager is sitting in a closed cabin. The housekeeping woman has gone there to do some cleaning. He catches hold of her hand. She pushes his hand away. And she says, I'm going to tell everyone that you are holding my hand. And he tells her, if you tell everybody that I was holding your hand, I will tell that you stole money from my wallet, which is lying on the table. So what is he doing? He's falsely accusing her behind closed doors. So these kind of examples will fall under the category of demand or request for sexual favors. Apart from this, you can also have behavior like a person is winking at a woman, he's staring at her, he's throwing a flying kiss at her, you see, and maybe he's blocking her way, just keeping on staring at her all the time. I mean, what does that do to a woman? she feels uncomfortable. And if it is happening at the workplace, well, she can file a complaint of sexual harassment. I can give you some more examples. Making sexual gestures with the hands or through the body movements. If a man is doing that, looking at a woman, and she sees that and she feels uncomfortable, I mean, she can complain. So you have to be very, very careful. You cannot do this kind of, you cannot indulge in this kind of behavior. Apart from this, invasion of personal space. Somebody is standing too close and the woman is feeling uncomfortable. She steps back. He again moves closer to her. And if he keeps doing this, the woman can go ahead and file a complaint. So in short, I have told you what are the various things various ways in which a woman can be sexually harassed. 1, through physical touch. 2, by showing pornography. 3, by passing sexual colored remarks. 4 is demand or request for sexual favors. And 5th is any other physical, verbal or non-verbal behavior of a sexual nature. All these acts will fall under the category of how a woman can be sexually harassed. Now, having understood this, I would like to tell you that there are 2 types of sexual harassment. One is called as a quid pro quo, and the second one is called as a hostile environment. When we talk of quid pro quo, what does quid pro quo mean? This for that. It's like an exchange. You do this for me, I will do this for you. You come with me for a movie, I'll give you a good appraisal. You don't come to my home on a Saturday, I will give you a bad appraisal. Or I will give you a bad report, or I will not put you on a project, or I will not give you a promotion, or I will not give you a pay hike. So what is he doing? He's asking for sexual favors in return of something. And if the woman does it, she gets a preferential treatment. If she doesn't do it, she gets a bad treatment. It can also be related to a person's present employment, for example, confirmation of a person, or it could be relating to a future employment. When I say future employment, say for example, you have 5 girls who have gone for an interview in a company. The manager has interviewed all those 5 girls. Then he tells one girl, there are 5 people who came for the interview. I have only one position which I want to fill. Why don't you do something? Why don't you meet me in the evening? Let's have a drink together. And I'll see that you get the job. Now, what is he doing? He is offering her a job against sexual favors. So that would also amount to a quid pro quo. The second type that I would like to talk to you about is the hostile environment, where the environment is made hostile, abusive, or severe, so that it makes the woman uncomfortable. Now, it is not directed against us, maybe one specific woman. It may be directed against multiple women also. So the atmosphere could be intimidating, where the person is criticizing a specific woman, or he may criticize, "Arey, औरत लोग सब बेकार है, इनको कुछ समझता नहीं है." So what is he doing? He's passing a general remark and an offensive remark against the women. So it could be criticizing someone, insulting somebody, blaming somebody, scolding an employee in public. It could also be humiliating somebody in front of other colleagues, or in front of outsiders also. It could also include displaying pornographic pictures on the softboard. So the women are passing by, they don't like it, they feel uncomfortable about it, and they just don't like it. And can you imagine, if supposing a woman is walking in, somebody is telling her, "Arey, kali aa gayi," will you like it? Will she like it? She will not like it. She will just not feel like going to the office, because she is feeling humiliated, or she's being criticized, or she's been scolded in front. So what is happening is, there is a hostile environment being created for her. So this kind of harassment, a woman can also file a complaint if she experiences this kind of harassment. This is harassment. Second, it is happening at the workplace. It is making her feel uncomfortable. Now that you understood what is sexual harassment, what are the different types of sexual harassment, what is it that a woman can do? Can she complain? Yes, of course, she can. So a woman has got two forums where she can complain. One is under the POSH Act. Second, she can complain at the police station under the Indian Penal Code. She can do that. So how does she lodge a complaint? See, if a woman is experiencing these kind of incidents which are happening with her, what is very important is that she should make a note of the date when it is happening, with whom it is happening, where did it happen, were there any people around? Because when you go to complain, you cannot just go make an allegation. You have to have some kind of evidence. So if it is happening, ladies, make a note of this, that okay, this on so and so day, this is what the person behaved like, and write down, make a note of all of it. If a person has sent you some offensive messages in a WhatsApp chat, save it. If a person has called you and said something obscene, if you have a recording of it, save it. All this is important when you want to file a complaint. Otherwise, if you just go ahead and say, I want to complain, he was misbehaving, well, the hands of the committee are also tied, because you cannot punish somebody without having evidence. So when you have to lodge a complaint, how will you lodge a complaint? If it is under POSH, you will draft out the complaint. In the complaint, what will you write? What happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? With whom did it happen? What is the relationship between the parties? Do you have any evidence? If so, attach the evidence. Do you have any witnesses? Please include the names of those witnesses. Unless you have all this, your complaint is not complete. Only there, if your complaint is complete, then the internal committee can take some action. There has to be some evidence. Otherwise, how will a person punish the other one? So you need to provide all these details, and when you give it in writing, if you're giving a hard copy, you need to give six copies. Otherwise, you can send an email to the internal committee. A lot of times, companies have a group ID, posh@soandsocompany.com or ic@soandsocompany.com. So it's an email ID which is there where the complaint can be forwarded across. Interestingly, the Ministry of Women and Child Development has a forum available which is called as the She Box. So if you go to the website of Ministry of Women and Child Development, look for She Box, you click on it. When you click on it, it will open up to a page where you can put in the details of the complaint. Now this can be done by somebody who is working in an organized sector, unorganized sector. So the complaint goes directly to the ministry, and then the ministry will follow up with the organization as to what is happening about the complaint. So there is a forum available on the ministry website. It is called as a She Box. It's a single window where all the complaints can come in, and the ministry will follow up. Now you need to know what is the time you have. Say the incident has happened today. Within how much time can you file the complaint? So the Act gives you 3 months time. Whenever an incident has happened, the Act gives you 3 months time in which to file a complaint. Now you may say that, oh, he did this multiple times to me. So when do I file? My 3 months period start? He harassed me in January, then again he harassed me in February, now he harassed me in March. So when will the 3 months period start? Will it start from January? Will it start from February? Will it start from March? So the 3 months period starts from the date of the last incident. So if the person has harassed in the month of March, the woman has got 3 months time from March in which to file the complaint. But when she's filing the complaint, she can give details of the previous incidents also. Now say you have a situation where the woman has, had some kind of mental trauma. She's really affected a lot, and she's gone away to her village or her native place, and she does not file the complaint within 3 months time. In the 4th month, she comes back to office. She is much better. She comes back to office and says to the IC, I would like to file a complaint. But the period of 3 months is already over. However, the law provides that in case of extenuating circumstances or circumstances where the woman shows that she was not able to file the complaint within the period of 3 months, and for reasons beyond her control, like she was in the native place, there is no internet connectivity, or she was undergoing medical treatment, things like that. If she is able to convince the internal committee that there were reasons beyond her control because of which she could not file the complaint, then the internal committee may give her another 3 months time extra to file the complaint. So the important thing is that if a woman has had a situation where she couldn't file it, internal committee has the authority to give her another 3 months time in which to file a complaint. So bottom line, single incident, 3 months time. Multiple incidents, if there are multiple incidents, 3 months from the date of the last incident. If there are extenuating circumstances because of which she did not file, the internal committee can give her another 3 months time in which to file the complaint. We already looked at what should the complaint contain, what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, at what time it happened, with whom did it happen, what is the relationship between the parties, is the person a manager and this one is a junior, is the person a colleague, is the person a client. So you need to provide all this information. Now, interestingly, say you have filed a complaint. One of your colleagues has sent you a non-veg joke by mistake and he's coming and apologizing to you. He says, Rashmi, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to send you that joke. I mean, I was supposed to send it to someone else. I'm really, really sorry. And I mean, I'm willing to give you a written apology. Now, Rashmi thinks, okay, he's a good person. I mean, he made a mistake. She can ask for reconciliation. She can tell the committee that I would like to settle the matter. So if she says that, okay, if this person gives me a letter of apology, I am willing to settle the matter. So the internal committee will document Rashmi is willing to settle the matter provided he gives a letter of apology. This man is willing to give a letter of apology. He gives it and the matter is closed. So this is how matters can be closed through reconciliation. Now, can you imagine a situation where a woman has filed a complaint and she is going to work under the same manager? How is the atmosphere going to be like in the office? It's going to be very tense, like a mini Mahabharat situation. And woman is not comfortable going there because she has complained. She is afraid. She is scared. So she can ask the committee for some interim relief. She can ask them for leave, saying that, I'm really affected by it. Can I get some leave? So the internal committee can grant her leave of up to 3 months over and above her regular leave. So this is paid leave that internal committee can grant her. The purpose is to reduce the mental trauma, reduce retaliation, and let her be a bit comfortable. Or she can ask for transfer, saying, I don't want to work under this guy. Can you please transfer me to another department? She can ask for transfer. A very important aspect is that person, the person against whom she has complained, if he is her senior, if he is a manager, he should not do her appraisal. I know of a case wherein the woman had filed a complaint of almost 15 incidents. She filed a complaint on the 5th of April 2019 and 6th of April the manager did her appraisal and he obviously gave her a 0 and she lost out on a performance bonus. So the act makes it very clear that if the woman has filed a complaint of sexual harassment against a person who is a senior, he should not be allowed to do her appraisal or write a confidential report about her. So she can seek these multiple reliefs. One, ask for leave, or she can ask for a transfer. The person should not do her appraisals or write a confidential report. The purpose of this whole thing is to keep the two apart till the time the inquiry is over, right? So you've understood what are interim reliefs. You've also understood what is reconciliation. You understood what is sexual harassment. You understood the various forms of harassment, how a woman can be harassed. You understood what are the various types of harassment. Now let us talk about the inquiry. Once a committee conducts an inquiry, what will be the result of the inquiry? Either the person is guilty or the person is not guilty. If the person is guilty, he will be punished according to the punishment which is prescribed under the POSH Act. If he is not guilty, then obviously no action is taken. It is also possible that the inquiry is inconclusive because there is no evidence. Now, if there is no evidence, the hands of the internal committee are tied. They cannot really punish the person if there is no evidence, because justice must not only be done but must be seen to be done. There has to be some evidence based on which they can punish the person. It is also possible that the woman may have filed a false complaint. If she has filed a false complaint, then the committee will take action against the woman. But remember one thing, just because a woman is not able to prove, it does not mean that the complaint is false. So if a woman has filed a false complaint, the committee will, send her a notice, ask her to put forth her defense as to, against the allegation that she has filed a false complaint. She will have to give an explanation and say this is not a false complaint. So if she is found to be guilty, then she will also be punished. Now, what is the punishment that the POSH Act prescribes? So the POSH Act has got two kinds of punishment. One is a disciplinary punishment and one is a financial compensation. Under the disciplinary punishment, you have a written apology, you have a warning letter given by HR, the promotion may be withheld, a pay hike which is generally given, the pay hike may be withheld, or if the offense is serious, the person's services can be terminated. He can also be asked to undergo counseling or asked to provide community services. So these are the various punishments that are there: written apology, warning letter, loss of pay hike, loss of promotion, termination, counseling, community services. Now, the punishment will be decided on the basis of the seriousness of the offense. If the offense is serious, the punishment will be more serious. If the offense is a simple offense, then the punishment will be a simpler punishment. You may have a situation where the woman has gone through a lot of mental trauma. She has been going through counseling. She is going to a psychologist to get some help. She is undergoing medical treatment. In such situations, the committee may grant monetary compensation to the complainant. Now, on what basis will the committee decide on the quantum, how much money should be given as compensation? It will look at multiple factors. What is the mental trauma that the woman went through? Was there a loss of career opportunity? She was supposed to go on a project, she couldn't go, she lost out on the opportunity. Did the woman undergo medical expenses? What is the income of the complainant and what is the income of the respondent? Respondent is the person who's the harasser. Is he at a senior level? Is he at a junior level? What is the amount of salary he is getting? Right? So it will look at the income and the status of both the harasser and the complainant. And then it will decide on what is the compensation that should be paid to the woman. And it will also decide whether the money should be paid as a lump sum or it will get deducted from that person's salary every month and paid to the complainant, to the lady. So you have two kinds of punishment: disciplinary action as well as financial compensation. So you have these two kinds of punishment which are prescribed under this act. How do you keep yourself safe from harassment? If you find any of your colleagues behaving in a manner which is sexual in nature, which is making you feel uncomfortable and all, ask the person to stop. I am sorry, I don't like this. Can you please not do this? you need to make it very clear that you don't like it. If he still keeps doing it, persisting, then you can go ahead and file a complaint. Ensure that you have the evidence with you and then you file the complaint. That's how you can keep yourself safe. Also ask yourself, am I consenting to this behavior? For example, he's cracking a vulgar joke and you're standing there and you are also laughing. So what is happening? What is the impact on the other person? He thinks you're okay with it. If you're not okay with it, make it clear you're not okay with it. So do not consent to that behavior. Ask yourself, is this behavior making me uncomfortable? If so, tell the person that I'm sorry, I don't like it. Can you please not do this? The other person will get a message. Now, why is this important for men and women to know? It is very important because a complaint of sexual harassment can impact your career. If you are found guilty, it can impact your career. Your services may be terminated. Anything which impacts your career can impact your family. It can impact your entire life. So you really cannot afford to mess around with your career. And for what? It really doesn't make sense to mess around with your careers. So it is important for men and women both to know what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, and behave accordingly. Right? So with this, I come to an end of my brief discussion and explanation. If there are any questions, I would like to take the questions. Thank you so much. Anjali, if there are any questions, I can take the questions. Somebody has asked what to do if no evidence. I mean, you need to have some evidence. I will, there have been times where there have been false cases. One of the cases which was published was Anita Suresh versus Union of India, wherein she had filed a false case and the court levied a penalty of 50,000 rupees to her. One more thing I can also tell you. Now, generally, organizations which have got 10 employees or more are supposed to have an internal committee in place. Now, what do you do if the organization does not have 10 employees or, they don't have 10 employees, or maybe it's an unorganized sector or, domestic worker who's working. In that case, the law has made a provision for local committees to be created and the woman can file a complaint with the local committee. So that is how it works. Any questions? If you have, can a girl not disclose her identity? Okay, interesting, very important question. See, the IC internal committee is bound by confidentiality. So when the complaint is given by the girl, it is kept confidential. So it is only handled by the committee. They know the name of the person and all. Obviously the person who has been accused also knows who it is, but this entire information is kept confidential. A woman who has complained, her name will not be leaked out. Her name will not be leaked out. The committee is bound by the clause of confidentiality. If they reveal the name, there is a penalty which is leviable on the committee members. At the end of the thing, what can be shared is the justice that was done, but the committee is not allowed to share who are the parties, what was the interim relief given, what was the terms of the reconciliation, what was the order that was passed, what did the employer do to implement the decision. All this information is kept confidential. It is not revealed. Maximum what may be revealed is the justice which was done. There was a complaint which came in, this was the punishment. That's all that can be shared. Nothing else can be shared. It is not, Akash, it's not difficult to file a complaint. If a woman is undergoing sexual harassment, she has got the evidence, she has a forum whereby she can do it. Men, in case if ever you have been accused of sexual harassment, please do not ignore the request to come for an inquiry. Please go attend the inquiry, answer to the best possible ability whatever actually happened. That way you will be able to reduce the kind of damage that can come to you. By ignoring the request to come for an inquiry, it's not going to help you. The committee will, in that case, go ahead and pass an order based on the evidence that is placed before it. Okay, one more point I would like to talk to you now. Say, for example, you have somebody, the people who are there in the inquiry committee, they are connected to the respondent, right? They are connected to the respondent. I had a case which I handled, where the presiding officer was a direct reportee of the respondent. Now, if obviously, then the girl is not going to get justice because she is not going to go against her senior. So in such a case, you can ask that particular member to step down from the inquiry, ask that person to be recused from that inquiry, and the employer will appoint somebody else in that person's place. When you ask for this, you need to give your reasons why you are asking this person to be recused, because there is a direct relationship or a direct connect which can cause a bias. It can lead to a bias against you and you will not get justice. So that is the reason why you can make a request that I don't want this person to be a part of the inquiry because of so and so reason. So that's how it works. As far as if there is no panel in the office, if the organization has got 10 employees or more, you need to send a letter to the organization that under the POSH Act there has to be a committee in place. If it is not there, you can either go to the local committee or you can go to the police. A woman has got two forums available. She can file a complaint under POSH. She can go to the to the police and file a complaint. She can do either these two. She can either do the POSH or the police. Complaint to the police. She can do both. There is no restriction. If she has filed a complaint under POSH, there is no restriction that she cannot go to the police. She can also go to the police. Right? So any other questions you would like to ask? Would you like me to talk about some other topic connected to this? Okay, let me tell you something about the appeal process. Supposing you're not satisfied with the decision of the committee, the committee has come back with a decision and you're not happy with the decision. Can you do something about it? Yes, you can. You can go ahead and file an appeal. The appeal period is 90 days. Once a decision has been obtained by you, you're not happy with the decision, you can go ahead and you can go into appeal. Now, where will you file an appeal? Now, there are some organizations which have got service rules. Like, for example, you've got banks. Banks have their service rules. So there is an appellate authority which is prescribed under the service rules. So you have to go and file an appeal with that particular authority. Otherwise, you can file an appeal with the authority which has been prescribed under the Industrial Standing Orders Act, which currently is a regional labor commissioner. So an appeal can be filed before the regional labor commissioner. Or in case you have a situation where both are not applicable, then it can be filed in the High Court. So these are the various ways in which you can find relief. Anjali, any other question? Akash, any questions? I hope you've learned something and you enjoyed the session. Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure being here and sharing some information with you. And thank you, Anjali, and thank you, Ansh Foundation, for this wonderful session. Thank you so much.